Hey everyone, I'm Blessing Love. Welcome to Short Crime A to Z. Here we cover the real life and crime stories of the voice and voiceless. If you haven't already, go ahead really quick and smash that like button, push that subscribe button, and turn your notification bell so you don't miss new videos as they drop. Thanks for watching. Today we're going to talk about a case that shocked the world, that spurred a worldwide debate about incest. A father who swore to nurture, love, care, and protect his own child. But instead he bring destruction and mayhem to the entire family from both sides.
She has the chance to start over, and I hope she can.
Emotionally and mentally abusive.
You may recall that those individuals.
He killed his baby.
20-year-old Katie Pladl.
Incestuous relationship with their biological daughter.
Katie was your typical happy-go-lucky 18-year-old girl. She was adopted and grew up in a stable, supportive home full of creativity, friends, and dreams. But everything Katie believed about her life changed the moment she reconnected with her biological parents. What began as curiosity turned into something dark. What looked like a reunion became a nightmare. Let's start at the beginning. Steven Pladl was born on April 6, 1975 in Levittown, New York. Not much is known about his childhood, but people described him as quiet, isolated, and prone to explosive anger. He lived with his mother and was often bullied, reportedly for wearing the same jersey every day. Over time, his behavior became increasingly unusual. He developed a strong interest in guns and struggled socially. Fast forward to 1995, Steven was 20 years old. Lonely and withdrawn, he turned to the internet to connect with others. That's when he met 15-year-old Alyssa from Texas. Despite the glaring age difference, the two began communicating regularly. Their online relationship intensified quickly. Steven drove from New York to Texas to meet her, and shortly afterward, Alyssa ran away from home to be with him. Soon after, Alyssa became pregnant. She gave birth to a baby girl they named Denise. But this wasn't a fairy tale ending. Steven was volatile, controlling, and frequently angry. He struggled to maintain steady employment. This placed financial pressure on Alyssa. According to Alyssa, he's emotionally and verbally abusive and sometimes physically violent. She later alleged that Steven physically harmed their infant daughter. She claimed he would pinch the baby, leaving bruises. And sometimes he placed her in a cooler to muffle her crying, putting her at risk of suffocation. Terrified for her daughter's safety, Alyssa made an agonizing decision. When the baby was just 8 months old, she placed her up for adoption. A couple named Anthony Fusco and his wife Kelly adopted the little girl and renamed her Katie. Katie grew up in Dover, about 80 miles north of New York City. Tony and Kelly provided her with a stable and loving home. Katie was shy but kind. She loved animals, especially rescuing stray cats, and was a vegetarian. Her family nicknamed her Pac-Man because she loved food. In high school, she was on the cheer team, played drums, and was known for her comic strip artwork. She dreamed of studying digital advertising in college. By all accounts, Katie was thriving. She knew she was adopted, and after turning 18 in January 2016, she became curious about her biological parents. She found them through social media. At the time, Steven and Alyssa were still together and had 2 more children, born in 2007 and 2012. Their marriage, however, was unstable. They were sleeping in separate rooms, and Alyssa continued to endure emotional turmoil from Steven. In August 2016, Katie met her biological parents in person for the first time. The reunion seemed positive. Conversations flowed. Bonds formed. Soon, Katie made a life-altering decision. She moved in with Steven and Alyssa. Tony and Kelly were hesitant, but believed Katie was old enough to make her own choices. What they didn't know was how unstable the situation truly was. Shortly after Katie moved in, Alyssa privately told her about the abuse she had endured as a baby and why she had been placed for adoption. Katie didn't appear overly alarmed. In fact, Steven and Katie grew closer. Steven began changing his appearance, dressing younger, shaving his beard, growing out his hair. About 6 weeks after Katie moved in, he slept on the floor of her bedroom. Alyssa confronted him, disturbed by his behavior, but he dismissed her concerns. By November 2016, Alyssa had enough. She left Steven. That leaves Steven alone in the house with Katie. Months later, in May 2017, Alyssa discovered disturbing entries in her 11-year-old daughter's journal. The entries describe Steven calling Katie "my baby" and referring to her as a stepmother. Alyssa confronted Steven. He admitted they were in love and Katie was pregnant. Police were contacted, but no immediate arrests were made. On July 20th, 2017, Steven and Katie got married. On official documents, they falsely claimed they were unrelated. From the outside, it appeared they were living a quiet suburban life in Knightdale, North Carolina. Katie's adoptive parents, Tony and Kelly, attended the wedding. Soon after, Katie gave birth to a baby boy named Bennett. But authorities eventually charged them. They were arrested in January 2018, but later released on bond. A judge ordered them not to contact each other. Katie moved back to New York with Tony and Kelly. Bennett stayed in Steven's mother's custody, separated from Steven. Katie began to gain clarity. About 4 months later, she ended the relationship for good. On April 11, 2018, Steven picked up baby Bennett from his mother's house. The next day, he rented a minivan and drove nearly 500 miles north to New York. He followed Katie and Tony as they drove to her grandparents' house. At a stop sign, Steven pulled up beside them and opened fire with a rifle. Katie and Tony were killed instantly. Shortly afterwards, Steven called his mother and confessed. Not only had he killed Katie and Tony, he had killed Bennett before leaving North Carolina.
He killed his baby and he's in the house.
Okay, you said that he told you he killed his baby? Okay, ma'am, listen to me. What's your name?
Police found baby Bennett dead in a closet at Steven's home. Within hours, authorities located Steven in his minivan. He had died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Alyssa was left grieving the unimaginable loss of her daughter and grandson. She described Steven as dangerous and controlling, but claimed she never suspected he would pursue a relationship with their daughter. Some have reference to the concept called genetic sexual attraction. It's an intense feelings that may occur when biological relatives meet for the first time as adults. However, regardless of terminology, Steven was the older parent and in a position of power. The outcome was catastrophic. 3 lives were lost. Katie, who once dreamed of college and a creative future. Tony, the father who raised her with love. And baby Bennett, who never had a chance. It is a heartbreaking story about manipulation, control, trauma, and devastating consequences. Thanks for watching. My condolences goes out to the victim and their families, especially baby Bennett. Please like, share, comment, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a beat when I post. See you soon on another one.